Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Old Man Logan storyline, Hawkeye and Logan 2-pack review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey I'm fucking with. Hype beast we know about. You stay buying figs, don't know about.
Let's marvel at this box art for a moment. Wonderful. And there's a nice solo side profile of Logan on the left flat. And there's Hawkeye on the right. All right, let's bust these bad boys open and see what's what. All right, here we go. Logan, aka Wolverine, and Hawkeye, aka Clint Barton, as seen in the critically acclaimed comic book miniseries Wolverine Old Man Logan. Well, sort of. Wolverine's look here is pretty accurate to the comic. Hawkeye, on the other hand, it looks like they took some liberties. But the Old Man Logan storyline was an 8-part mini in the pages of the solo Wolverine book back in 2008 that began in issue 66 of Wolverine. Now, this was a totally standalone story that was contained within the pages of Wolverine. You didn't really need any prior knowledge of this world, this universe, this timeline. And it features a much older Wolverine, maybe 50 years or so after the world basically went to shit. Obviously, Wolverine is a central character, but Hawkeye shows up, I guess, somewhere in the first issue and is one of the main supporting characters throughout the story. This story is almost 13 years old, and if you haven't read it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but it seems that a lot of things that are happening in the modern times in comic books have spun off from this storyline. Wolverine is living on a farm with his wife and 2 kids in what used to be Sacramento, California. 50 years prior, all of the villains kind of banded together and took out all of the heroes, and Wolverine made a grave mistake which led Wolverine to be a pacifist of some sort 50 years into the future, where he refuses to pop his claws or fight or get into any violent confrontations. The United States has been carved up into a few sections where different supervillains rule those sections or those sectors, and the sector that Wolverine is in is ruled by the Hulk and a band of his inbred insane children. So we basically get the classic Hulk versus Wolverine storyline with a lot of surprises and cameos and interesting tidbits thrown into the story. This was written by Mark Miller and penciled by Steve McNiven, who is one of my favorite comic book artists. It is wonderful. You should read it. So out of the package, we get Logan with his look and a lot of the images that you see for Old Man Logan with his hat and trench coat, and this looks very good. Looks like they utilized some of the same parts from the first Old Man Logan that we got, but again, we get the long trench coat here, which seems to be a totally new part, as well as his head sculpt with the hat attached that is all one piece. Belt buckle, the dungarees down to the boots, everything here looks very clean, looks very good in my opinion. He's got 2 fisted hands with the claws out. You know, again, it was quite some time before we saw him actually pop his claws in that story, and I really like this design a lot. It is very well done, especially with all of the folds and creases and stuff in the jacket. It looks very authentic. It is a little windswept here down at the bottom. Unfortunately, there is no bendy wire or anything. It is a softer, pliable plastic, but overall, I think this guy looks good. Get you a little light on that face. Now, I do have a little bit of a minor paint smudge above his lip. I guess you could say that that's just some hair, but the head sculpt looks pretty good. Not bad at all. Claws were a little warped out of the package. You know, you got to kind of work with them here, but I think I have a fix for that. I'm gonna probably swap these hands out. I've got some other options, so no big deal there. He is packed in with another head and set of hands. These hands are open. They're actually supposed to be utilized to hold another one of his accessories, which I'll get to shortly, but this head sculpt looks to be the same head sculpt we got with the Old Man Logan prior. So in 2008, we had the Old Man Logan storyline in the pages of Wolverine, and then I think in like 2015, there was another mini that spun out from the Secret Wars storyline that found the character in Doom's battle world. After the events of that, he ended up in the main Marvel universe, and then that's how he got on the X-Men, or with the X-Men, I think at first the original Wolverine from the 616 was dead, and then they brought in Old Man Logan to the main continuity. Yeah, it's kind of a mess, but that's what it is. And Logan's final accessory is this little baby Hulk, who we see at the very end of the Old Man Logan story. And apparently this character has a very interesting future that I believe comes back to haunt Wolverine at some point. I'm not really a fan of this particular design, especially how the hair looks, and it's all like looks like it's gelled, and he looks kind of angry. I don't know. I think they should have made the baby a little softer, his face. But the wrap and everything looks good. It is nicely detailed. It's a nice green that really pops. I just don't really like the expression too much. And I really don't like these hand sculpts for holding the baby. It's really not the best. It doesn't look good to me. It doesn't really look that authentic because you can't really get him to grip portions of the head or the bottom here. I don't really like that. But I'm happy little baby Bruce here was included. And as far as Hawkeye goes, it's a very unique, interesting, cool design here for Marvel Legends. Some totally new parts for sure. They are utilizing the pinless technology here on this figure as well. So some really cool things that were probably worth the extra price tag or the higher price point on this set. But I don't know what they were going for here with the deco choice, because he didn't really look like this in the original story. I think I would have much preferred them to go with the longer sleeve look or the jacket or something for Hawkeye. And this windswept hair, I don't know, man. It's cool. I see a lot of people utilizing this for different characters, Magneto and what have you, but little spoiler alert, Hawkeye is actually blind in the Old Man Logan storyline. Maybe Hasbro intended for this particular head sculpt to be a younger, older version of Hawkeye, but in the story, he's got to be like 80 or something like that if it's 50 years in the future, at least 70 something. And his face does not look that old, at least this particular head. He does have an additional head sculpt. You can see I already fitted him with his quiver, which is a design we've seen plenty of times from Marvel Legends. No real detail here as far as differences between the arrows and the quiver. Some of you customizers might want to paint that up a bit. And the bow, another design that we've seen before. Pretty sure this little pouch is based off of maybe the Mary Jane purse or something like that. But again, pinless technology. I do like the lower legs, the boots. These look really slick. Now this head sculpt is cool. It's closer to the design that we first see of him in the books. I do like this. And he's got one more accessory here, which is his bow and arrow as one part here. Everything is attached, so it looks like he's about to shoot an arrow. I hope I have him holding that right. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. And there's just a basic look at the body without the head and hands. Obviously, you could swap out the hands. And this is a great kind of base buck if you wanted to do some kit bashes and just kind of have some sort of like military dude or something like that. Great articulation on the buck. Ab crunch, waist swivel, shoulder articulation, upper bicep swivel. The double jointed elbow, again with the pinless technology. T-joint at the pelvis. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee. You get a boot swivel. You get a hinge and a pivot on the foot. There's a butterfly joint as well, so that obviously helps with somebody who is an archer. And when the hands are popped in, you do get a hinge on the left hand that goes up and down, and a traditional way on the right hand. And Wolverine's articulation, while limited a little bit because of the overcoat, it is still pretty good. Heads on a ball joint, look down, up, left to right, pivot on that ball joint, no problem there. Shoulders not hindered too much by the top of the jacket, this design, but there is a decent range there. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, swivel and a hinge on the wrist here. Ab articulation, pretty far forward. You could get them back just a little bit, but it's hindered by the jacket. The articulation is still there. You can remove this part of the jacket, but of course you'd still have the sleeved arms. T-joint at the pelvis, leg will come up that far. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee, and a hinge and a pivot on the foot. Like I said, the body here looks like it's the same body from the previous Old Man Logan. I'll break out one for comparison. All right, let's mess around a little bit here. So some size comparisons, some Wolverines from different universes and what have you. On the far left is basically the MCU version of Old Man Logan, I guess, or the Sony or Fox Old Man Logan. But this is Hugh Jackman Wolverine from the third movie in the Wolverine trilogy. This version came in a 2-pack with Professor X. This is actually one of my favorite figures from last year, and you can see how tall he is, but I wanted to break him out because I wanted to utilize something that was packed in with him, with this 2-pack Wolverine here in the center. But right next to him is the House and Powers of X Wolverine, or Powers of 10, which I just reviewed. Please check out that review. And then to the 2-pack Old Man Logan's right, or to his left, our right, is the first Old Man Logan that we got. And now that I'm looking at these two side by side, it does look like the lower torso is the same, but to me the upper torso on this new Old Man Logan looks a little wider. That may be different actually. And I got like like 3 of these versions of Old Man Logan here, because originally I was going to mod it and use the upper torso or the jacket and arms to do a bomber jacket Cyclops. Shout out to my man Punka Mike. But we ended up getting Cyclops in a bomber jacket, so that's cool. And that's the original head sculpt that came on that version. And then to the right is the body of the Weapon X Wolverine with the head from this new Old Man Logan. So the sculpts are definitely the same, but the coloring on the hair is just slightly different. It's a little darker with this newer version. And then I went ahead and swapped out these hands. We need some relaxed hands that look good on this body. I don't even know what these hands are from. Honestly, I forget. I just had it in a bin full of hands, but these look good. You can go with a version like this that's kind of relaxed but not completely clenched, or you can do a fisted version if you have, where the skin tones kind of match up. These are a little lighter than the face, but no big deal. But you know, if you've been collecting Marvel Legends for quite some time, then you have quite a few options. I think this particular one is from Iron Fist. I'm not sure where that left fist is from, and I can't find another right fist, but I know I have one around here somewhere. One of the best things about that Hugh Jackman Wolverine is the sculpts for the hands and claws that you get, or the fist and claws that you get. So this is one version that you get with that Wolverine. These claws look really good, accurate to the movie design, but will work fine for a comic-based Wolverine, I think, and they pop in with no issue. The skin tones are not exact, but it's good enough for sure. And that Hugh Jackman Wolverine also features a set of bloody claws, so these are really good. I think it would have been nice if the additional head sculpt for Wolverine in this pack would have been a sort of angry, screaming face version, but you know, they went with something more neutral for both. Still, a lot of playability and swappability. Obviously, if you've been collecting for a while and picking up a bunch of Wolverine figures, you have several options. And another comparison here, we have the Kate Bishop Hawkeye that came in a 3-pack several years back, and on the right I have the MCU Avengers Endgame Hulk builder figure. So this is Bruce Banner, but the reason that I broke out these two is because in the 2016 Old Man Logan solo book, early on when he got to the 616 universe, he encountered Kate Bishop Hawkeye as he was looking for Clint Barton Hawkeye, and he actually had a fight with Amadeus Cho Hulk looking for Bruce Banner in those early issues. I'll talk more about Amadeus Cho as the Hulk in my next Hulkorama video, which should be maybe right after this video, or maybe one video in between. I'm getting to it. Then in terms of Hawkeye, like I said, a lot of people utilizing the windswept hair head sculpt for Magneto. So this is, I think, the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave Magneto, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, you can use it on the classic look or whatever you want to do there. And then right next to Hawkeye, on his immediate left, going to our right, is the vintage carded Hawkeye, which is a classic look for him, which was based on the Hawkeye on the far right, which was the modern look that you can actually have double as your Dark Avengers Hawkeye. And I don't really like any of these designs for Hawkeye, to be honest. We need an updated classic uniform with a buck that's sort of similar to this new 2-pack Hawkeye as far as having a butterfly joint. I just really do not like this Bucky cap mold for Hawkeye, and I never really liked the head sculpt here. I just don't think it looks like Clint Barton. And there was also this other sort of modern look for Hawkeye that we got. I like this costume, but again, I just don't like this buck. They gave us the sort of unmasked head sculpt, and he's the version that you would pair up with this Kate Bishop. They had a lot of adventures together. I think they had a team book, if I'm not mistaken. And there's that too, another teacher and pupil moment here. Wolverine and Wolverine, well, X-23 and Wolverine, they ended up crossing paths and working together, and she ended up being tutored by the Old Man Logan in the books as well. And here's a little bonus. This is the Sculptor Shelf custom Old Man Logan head, which doesn't pop on the peg, unfortunately, but if you just sit it on there, it does look good. The proportions are fine. I like this. It looks nice. At least from the front it does. And real quick, there is the Mezco Old Man Logan on the right there, which is probably one of Mezco's best figures. I still think the Legends version here is standing up to the Mezco version. They're both very nice. They both took liberties though. Neither one really got the boots right, at least not how they looked in the beginning of the story from the solo Wolverine book. And there is a bit more playability, I guess, with the Mezco version in terms of you being able to remove the hat, and also some differences of the pack in of the baby Hulk or baby Bruce figure. Here's a look at those side by side. A much softer look for the Mezco version that to me looks more accurate to the comic. And then there was also this feature with the Mezco version where you can slip the baby into the bag and put the bag on Old Man Logan's back, so that was really cool. And there's a little mashup with the sculptor shelf head and the hat from the Mezco version. Hat looks a little large, but it is what it is. And there's the Mezco head on the Marvel Legends body, which works. It pops on there kinda. You might not want to force it all the way down, but it does sit on the peg much better than the sculptor shelf head for this body. But yeah, you definitely could finesse this. And obviously you could remove the jacket from the Mezco version, which gave you more playability, more options for photo taking. But I never quite understood why they went with the white shirt instead of the red shirt. I'd like to see Legends adopt more of that, you know, the swapping parts with taking out the arms from the torso and swapping out sleeved arms for sleeveless arms and all of that stuff. Looks like they may be leaning into stuff like that, as they did it with the Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure Wave Moira McTaggart. But yeah, overall a great set here, one I would definitely recommend. And again, if you want to follow the escapades of Old Man Logan, then you definitely want to check out the 2008 Old Man Logan run that begins in issue 66 of volume 3 of Wolverine, if I'm not mistaken. And then in 2015, Bendis had a 5-issue run. I didn't really like that too much. Bendis's writing sometimes is nonsense, but the art was pretty good. And then that eventually led into the 2016 solo run of Old Man Logan, which was like 50 issues. And that'll lead you into some of the modern things with the X-Men and where he ended up in terms of the X-Men team in the modern days, and so on and so forth. Thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to hit that bell down there. And until next time, peace.
Thought I wasn't coming without mine. Niggas put me on the front line, cause you doubt mine. Red jaws and lost jaws. Come to get yours and toss yours. And it cost yours. The fuck's that nigga stupid on the boss dog.